Hi there guys and girls, and welcome to my Mortal Kombat Legacy Part 6 to 9 review. For those of you who saw my first part, sort of decided to split it up into 1 to 5, sort of 6 to 9. So I thought I'd give my my thoughts, and then probably which episodes I like the most in order of 1 to 9. I always thought it was strange that they did 9 and not 10. Like, I don't know. I'm not really, I don't really like odd numbers much, you know. It just seems strange. Like, why not just make 10 episodes done, you know? It seems weird to sort of have 9, I don't know. But anyway, I'll firstly start with episode 6, which was the Raiden episode. This episode was really awesome. For a start, you had some characters in there that we didn't know that were awesome. And the only character you knew in here was Raiden. And basically, you got this this mental facility. Raiden lands in this mental facility just by bad luck, and he's found by you know, what are they called? Not what are they called? Not orderlies. Orderlies? Orderlies? I don't know. The hospital staff, whatever. The guys. Yeah, they find him, and then, you know, straight away he fights back, and you can see that he fights straight away. He fights good, you know. He beats the first guy, but then they all sort of jump on him and stick the needle in his neck, you know. They always got that needle, you know, that knocks you out. And then basically you see like this this timeline of him in his cell, and it's like you know, he's just like walking around in circles, you know. He's stuck, Raiden. It's sort of weird because like you think he might be able to use his powers to sort of, you know, blow a hole in the wall or something, but he doesn't have powers like that. Like, he's immortal. You know, he's immortal in this episode, and he's got the power. He lands with the lightning, but he can't throw lightning or anything. He's sort of like more mortal when he's on Earth, but that power's sort of there, but he doesn't use it. I'm not certain why. I think he's just trying to convince them to let him out, but this main doctor guy keeps torturing him and, like, you know, sticking the needles in his neck, and you know, there's this part where, like, he explains, you know, if you don't let me go, Shao Kahn will invade Earthrealm, you know. And the doctor's just like, you know, I'm gonna help you. More archaic methods. So more archaic methods in mental hospital terms means they're gonna give you a lobotomy and take parts of your brain out, which is what they're doing with that little hammer, and she's all like, ding, bing, bing, and they're like taking shit out of his eye and that. And so basically Raiden ends up, like, you know, half gone. He makes friends with this other inmate called Blue, and he convinces her to knock him off, you know, because Raiden knows if he dies, he's immortal, he'll come back, you know, in a different spot. So basically, before this happens, a fight breaks out. Raiden starts just banging on windows. You see, he was really aggressive in this. That's what I love. He's just like, you know, let me out. And the guy's like, no. And he's like, let me out! You know? The guy's just like, he's like real angry. He's like, just takes like 1 second for him to like flip, you know? And then there's this part where he goes up to this window and he's like, the guy's like, you know, take care of this, you know? And then so this fight breaks out. They grab like the like electric gun, and they zap him, and this is probably one of my favourite parts, because as soon as they zap him, you see like it zooms in on his eye, and he's got like it's like he's feeding off the power from the gun, and it actually like gives him a charge, or like a rejuvenation, and then he's just beating the shit out of all the guys, you know. He beats them all, he beats all the orderlies, and then that main doctor suddenly comes out, but he doesn't have one of those zapper guns, he's got like the tranquilizer, shoots him right in the head, and knocks him out. And then while he's distracted, Blue sees one of the guards on the ground that Raiden beat up. She grabs the keys. And then in the next scene, she's basically taken Raiden into a room and locked herself in. And they're locked out. They're like, you know, break down the door, you know. And she grabs like the ice pick and then like offs him, like, just bang, offs him off the table, you know. And he explodes in like this really cool effect. All this electricity goes everywhere. And the weirdest thing about this episode is that Raiden's blood is blue. I guess that's sort of just like a sign that he's not human, that he is a god. I don't know. It's sort of strange. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, all the blue stuff goes everywhere. And then we basically see It could be China, Vietnam. I don't know, an Asian country. I think China. It could be just Little China in LA. I don't know. You know, it's a Chinese area, and you see the again. You know, and Raiden falls from the ground, appears, and he's back to normal. You know, he just comes out of some garbage cans or something. Just appears and he's all fine. You know, and then these two Chinese people are looking at him like, what the fuck, you know. One of the guys got the hat on, you know. The hat, actually I got the hat. You guys have seen the hat in my outro, or my end slate. This is actually a Vietnamese sun hat, but yeah, he sees the Chinese guy wearing it, and then he just grabs it, he's just like, puts it on, and then he's like, you know, his eyes are just under that and just walks off into the camera sort of like that, and then the episode ends. So that was really cool. Really awesome. I like it. My favourite episodes in the Legacy are the ones that sort of have a link to the tournament. Yeah, some of the other stuff sort of seems too disconnected for me to be in my favourite slots. So the Raiden episode's awesome. The next two episodes are my favourite, and they are the Scorpion Sub-Zero storyline. They actually broke this up into two episodes, episode 7 and 8. Episode 7 basically shows the story of Scorpion, or Hanzo Hasashi, and how he's the leader of the Shirai Ryu, and how his clan protects his little village. Now, you see he's got a wife and child, you know, the whole like Mortal Kombat story, you know. The son wants to be like him. I want to be like you, Dad, sort of thing, you know. I will treat you, you know. Yeah, so, yeah, you know, there's that whole thing going on. Then suddenly these two guys rock up at his house and they say, the Shogun has arrived early, you know. You're needed at the castle. And the castle sort of, you know, half a day's travel in the distance or something, you know. And he says, alright, you know. Then he puts on the outfit. The thing I love about the outfit is that it's real retro and classic. Like, in MK1, Scorpion's outfit was just yellow cloth. You know, and though even guys in the MK team were talking about, it's hard to make it sort of like change it around and that, but for me you don't need to change it. Like, I liked that it was real basic, that he didn't have a mega fancy outfit, and it just basically showed that he really could, you know, the fighting was where his style was. It wasn't about the outfit, you know. And the more and more they change like Scorpion's outfit, sometimes it annoys me. Like, I always just like the MK1 and 2 one, you know. In case, I like the MK1, 2, 3 ones because they're very basic and they're only slight changes. But, you know, when they got like to Dele Loans and putting little armor things on, I'm like, oh, it's cool, but it was cool, and it just kept going and going and going, and then, you know, the sort of the MK9 one was sort of, you know, I don't know, a bit too far, I reckon. But in this, yeah, he's just got the yellow cloth, and he's got the little harpoon, and he's got this like mask. I'm not big on the mask. It's got like one of those weird faces on it, you know, and yeah, that's his outfit. And yeah, so he leaves his wife and child behind and goes to the castle. And you know, on the way he sees the Shogun dead, just in the middle of like, because it's all snowy, right? It's all frozen, and it's Japan, you know. And this guy's just in the middle of like this walking track. There's no one around, and he's like frozen to death, you know. And yeah, basically Sub-Zero appears, and yeah, he throws Scorpion right through the Shogun and shatters him into a million pieces. And then those two, they fight, and that's you know, Sub-Zero says, or Scorpion says, "What, you killed the Shogun?" And Sub-Zero's like, a necessary step and all this shit, you know. And basically this is where this episode ends. They start to fight, and it says like, to be continued. Continue on with the next episode. I should say also, when the two guys arrive at the door, something I forgot to mention, their eyes are glowing blue. This is explained later. So then the next episode starts. It's the continuation of the fight, and for me, done perfectly. I mean, for me, no matter what Mortal Kombat thing I watch, I seem to always enjoy the Scorpion Sub-Zero stories the most. But it's like they're the ones that people care about the most, or they're the ones that people do right. You had even in Conquest, you know, it was all done so well. In this, it's no different. You had them, they're having their fight, they're doing some real cool fighting moves, you know, it's really good, it's real gritty, real, you know. They both can fight, it doesn't look like shit, you know. And then they whip out their special moves, which is my favourite part. You see Sub-Zero sort of comes back and then he sort of like, you know, sort of slams his fist into the ground and like makes like a shockwave of like stalagmites. They're like, they sort of just, you know, go towards Scorpion and he sort of just rolls out the way, you know. And then as he's going to get up, then again Sub-Zero does his next move, which is the freeze, and he just throws it one-handed, which I always wanted to see. For me, I reckon that's absolutely badass. He's like, boom, you know, just throws it like a ball, you know, like a ball of ice. And I guess this just goes back to MK2, where he throws the ice grenade one-handed, you know, it just shows like real skill, you know. He just throws it like that, and again, Scorpion dodges it. Then he gets up and he throws a harpoon. And then the coolest part of this is that he says, "Get over here" in Japanese. That's fucking awesome, because, you know, Scorpion's Japanese, Sub-Zero's Chinese, I think. Chinese ninja, Lin Kuei, yeah. And no matter where you go in the Mortal Kombat universe, no one's ever done it. Made Scorpion talk Japanese or ever say a word in Japanese. And this whole thing was done like that. And it was absolutely fantastic and refreshing to see that someone really did pay attention to the background story. Like, yeah, we all know Scorpion's Japanese, blah, blah, blah. But they still, everywhere he went, he still spoke English, you know. And I'm totally fine with reading subtitles and having him talk Japanese. I'm totally fine with that. You know, I'm even totally fine probably with him with no subtitles. And then let me look it up and find out what he's saying. You know, it just makes it more realistic. And yeah, when he threw the harpoon and said, "Go over here" in Japanese, I thought that was so awesome. Yeah, and then so yeah, pulls in Sub-Zero and does the uppercut and sort of, that's it, sort of knocks him out. While this was going on, we saw another guy sneak into the house of Scorpion's wife and child. He was attacking the wife and the kid was hiding, you know, and he had the harpoon in his sights. The kid was going to go for the harpoon, you know. Right after he finishes his fight with Sub-Zero, we cut back to the house and you just see the little kid and he's like, "Father!" You know, that whole thing, you know. And then he gets like the vision in his head, and then so he starts running back to the village, you know. And along the way he sees all the villagers are dead, they've all been murdered, you know. And yeah, he arrives at his house and his wife's outside, frozen solid, turned in on a snowman. Looked awesome, man. He goes up to her and starts crying and that, you know. It's real sad, you know. Grabs her arm and it's like that, and it like all like shatters and splits and yeah, you know, it's like all frozen, you know. It looked really cool. And then he spots his kid, his son, lying in amongst all the baskets and like, you know, sort of like a piece of trash. He's thrown in there, impaled with his own harpoon, man. The one that he tried to use against. And yeah, that really shocks him, you know. But awesome, you know. You really do need to show that level of violence if you want people to believe the storyline sometimes. Then right at that moment, he's impaled from behind by Sub-Zero. You know, Sub-Zero wasn't dead. He only knocked him out. And then we get like the harshest thing. "May you and your family rot in the afterlife. Didn't I tell you that your clan was inferior?" He's saying all this shit. He's really getting in his ear, you know, really like, you know, like fuck you. He's real spitting on him, like, you know, like just doesn't give a fuck about this guy. They're real enemies, you know. And yeah, then he dies. And then we get the twist of the episode. Now, a lot of people didn't like this, but basically, then Sub-Zero morphs back into Quan Chi. Now, I can understand a lot of people weren't happy because Quan Chi doesn't morph in Mortal Kombat. Shang Tsung does. And they thought that it was bullshit that Quan Chi morphed back. But for what he was accomplishing, it worked perfectly. And who's to say that Quan Chi probably couldn't morph? I mean, Shinnok did impersonations in Mortal Kombat. Where did he learn that from? Him and Quan Chi were like that, you know. So who knows, you know. I guess I can see why people were annoyed. But for me, I think it was absolutely a perfect way to do it. And then when he morphs back, you see that sort of blue. That's why you saw the guard's eyes flashing blue earlier, because they were Scorpion. They were Quan Chi and Shang Tsung. He morphs back, and then Quan Chi asks him, "What about the other villagers?" You know, he's like wiped out in the attack. So Shang Tsung killed them all, and then Shang Tsung's like, "You sure this will work?" And he's like, then Quan Chi says, you know, his honor demands blood for blood, you know. And Quan Chi's got a real creepy voice. A lot of people said it was sort of a high pitch, and they didn't like it. But I thought it was awesome. It just made him so much more creepy that he looked like had sort of a funny voice, you know. And he looked really sus, you know, like with like the white makeup and that. Like he looked awesome, you know. And it was real creepy when he was like, will you fight for the Nether Realm in the Mortal Kombat tournament? He's saying that, and then he like leans forward and he like whispers in Hanzo's ear, "Will you do that for me, General Hasashi?" That's real creepy, man. You know, and then like he bursts into flames and says, "I am Scorpion," and the episode ends right there. Awesome, you know. Absolutely fantastic. Episodes of Legacy. My favourite one, actually, is that one. Part 2 of the Scorpion Sub-Zero one, which is episode 8. It's my favourite episode. Just perfection. The next episode, episode 9, really pissed me off because they were promising episode of Mortal Kombat Legacy every week, and they deliberately delayed it for Comic-Con just so they could have a big panel and give away posters and shit. And like, that's cool and that, but you didn't need to delay it. You could have still had your panel and that anyway at Comic-Con, but they just wanted to, you know, show it there first and make a big hype for it. And, I don't buy that, I'm sorry. You should have had something else to show if you wanted to do that sort of thing. Really pissed me off that I had to wait, well, it was like a month and a half or something, or a month to see it. That's a joke. Anyway, so episode 9 is all about the Lin Kuei, and Cyrax and Sector and that. So basically it starts off with Cyrax and Sector in a truck. And Cyrax is against the Cyber Initiative. Sector's all for it. Cyrax is loyal to the clan, but he doesn't want to be turned into a robot. Whereas Sector will do anything to be in the clan, whether it be turned into a robot or whatever, right? So basically they arrive at this warehouse and it's like, "Welcome to the Cyber Initiative," or some bullshit, you know. And then these two guys come out and they got to fight him. And they quickly fight him. And then we see these guys in the control room. There's a doctor who's like, he's like the head of like the this project, the Sector Cyrax project. Kano's there, you know, but his eye's fine because this was before it was knocked out. And the head of the Lin Kuei is there, the Lin Kuei Grandmaster, which is this like old Asian guy. Looks awesome, perfect choice for the role. And there's some other few computer nerds, you know, they show there. Basically, the doctor's like, you know, we've been doing all these enhancements, blah, blah, blah. He's talking, like, about what they've done to, like, to make these, you know, Cyrax and Sector into robots, like lighter alloy metals and all this bullshit. You see, like, carts, there's, like, all wires hanging out and oil and shit. You see there's one scene where, like, all the blood's coming out of the body and all the oil's going in. It's, like changing levels and that. You know, so basically they turn him into these two robots. Sector, the whole time you see Sector during this sequence, he's just accepting it. No fight back at all. The whole time Cyrax is fighting back, like shaking in the chair and shit, you know, he's like against it, you know. Then basically the doctor says, you know, this thing's a complete success, they're ready, blah, 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 to Lin Kuei Grandmaster. We should start phase 1, they call it, on all the clan members. And then they're like, then the Grandmaster's like, "I want to see them in action," or some bullshit, you know. And then Kano's just like, past the doctor, you know, real jerk. So there's a connection between the first and second episode and the last episode, which is the parts that Kano was talking about getting to his client when he said to Sonya, they already was received by my client ages ago. That he was talking about, you know, the Lin Kuei. And all the parts were for this project. That's what the connection between those was. So then we see this is now they have a sequence to show off Sector and Cyrax, and their target's Hydro. Now, for those of you who don't know, Hydro has been a rumoured Mortal Kombat character since MK3. Someone posted a picture online. I'll never forget it. I don't have the picture, but it was they'd taken Cyrax and just or Sector and changed him to like cyan blue, and he had like a not a freeze, like a ball of water sort of shooting out of his chest, like was open like that. And yeah, they'd put Hydro there, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, Hydro, real character!" And yeah, so like over the years, fans have gone on and on about it, you know. And even Mortal Kombat hasn't put that rumour in yet. It's one of the rumours they haven't brought alive yet. So Legacy beat them to it by putting him in. And yeah, that's the guy they fight. And basically, yeah, it's got a really cool fight scene with Sector and Cyrax fighting against Hydro. And yeah, there's part where Cyrax looks like it says he's offline, then he gets back up, gets back into the fight, you know, and then they start teaming up, Cyrax and Sector on Hydro, beat the fuck out of him, and then Cyrax has this little spiky sort of three-way knife thing that comes out of his arm and sort of cuts Hydro's throat, and then uppercuts his head off. And then you hear, what's the voice say? Warning, Project Hydro Fatality. I think that was it. Yeah, so yeah, it's a way for them to work the fatality line into it. And then the Grandmaster's like, "Good, Doctor," you know, or some bullshit. And then it finishes with phase 1 starting on the whole clan. And that's it. That's pretty much it for Legacy. I mean, for the last episode, it's not very, you know, I would have rather seen something with Shang Tsung talking about the tournament more, you know, for episode 10. Why not have a Shang Tsung episode? Or a Goro episode? Yeah, so I guess for now I'll have to give you my the order of my the episodes, which order I prefer them in. So I say number 1 is Scorpion and Sub-Zero episode 2, or part 2, which is episode 8 in the series. That's my number 1. My next one would be part 1, which is episode 7. My next one after that would be probably the Johnny Cage episode, which is episode 3. I like that more than the Raiden one, slightly more. Then for me, the 4th one would be the Raiden episode, which was episode 6. The next one I'll probably say the Lin Kuei one, which is episode 9 for the 5th one. Then no, this is where it gets a bit tricky. Yep. Excuse me, sorry. I'm just thinking on the fly here. So, the next one I would probably say, this is hard. I'd probably put the Sonya Jax episodes above the Kitana Molina ones. I think I'd put episode 2 next, and then episode 1, then episode 5 next, and then 4. Yeah, so it's a confusing top 10. I'm going to put it on the screen now so you can see. You know, what's on the screen is my final order, because I'm going to go over to the computer, I'm going to type it up, and yeah, but that's probably the order in which I like the episodes the best. So yeah, the Kitana Molina episodes were my least favourite, and I don't know why. They look fantastic. I just thought the Shah Khan should be different, and I didn't see why that needed to be dragged out into 2 episodes. I didn't see why we needed to see the history of Sindel and that, you know. Just get to the point, really. The Scorpion Sub-Zero one got to the point. They didn't show, like, the back history of, like, Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Did you notice how they did that? Sub-Zero just showed up, and he knew him. He's like, behind, you know. Like, he knew him, but they didn't explain why. They didn't need to. That's why those episodes were done better. But whereas the Kitana Molina ones, it's like, Sub-Zero and Scorpion were bitter enemies. You can just see them having this whole big thing. just wasting your time telling the story again, you know, which didn't need to be done. So, yeah, all in all, Legacy Season 1 was very solid and did really well for him. I didn't think it was very fair that Machinima got all the exclusives every week. I mean, why? Just because they're Machinima? What about the fan sites, you know? Didn't give any episodes to fan sites, you know? We're the ones that spread all the word about Mortal Kombat. And I'm not saying we could have had all 9 episodes, but you could have given us like the first episode or something. Or the third one, or the 5th one or something. I don't know, you know? Not saying, you know, not being greedy, but, you know, it would have been nice. What else do I need to say about Legacy? They originally said that Legacy was going to be 9 episodes and then a movie. And it looks like now they've changed that. They're going to do another season. And then hopefully a movie, they said. I just watched a Comic-Con interview last night where they were talking about that. They're saying, I think Ed Bruner was saying, hopefully this leads into a movie, you know, which is what it's looking like, you know. So yeah, they'll get the rights and they'll make it into a movie. But if we get a second season, are we going to see any tournament action? I don't think so. It's going to be more backstories. I really think that they should have had a Reptile episode. You know, I've said this before in the first my first review of 1 to 5, but I mean, you had 9 episodes. You could have had the 10th one. It could have been about Reptile or Shang. You could have had the Reptile Shang Tsung one together. I mean, because Reptile Shang Tsung's protector in MK, you know. So you could have easily had an episode about Reptile. You know, it just seems stupid. It just really annoyed me because that Rebirth thing was so awesome, and Reptile was so awesome in that Rebirth thing. And then, like, he wasn't in this. I couldn't believe it. Man. That really bugged me. That really bugged me. That's one thing that really bugged me about Legacy. No Reptile. That was bullshit. They did change the structure a lot. They went back and forth with NetherRealm Studios to get a lot of the facts down, like the name Bihan and that, you know. They sort of, like, intertwine it with the game a bit, you know, the game storyline. I don't like it how they do that. I wish they just let them just do their own thing, you know. The Rebirth thing on its own, I think I like that storyline more than the Legacy thing. But the Legacy thing was still done really well. So yeah. All the actors in Legacy were amazing. So yeah. Shout out to everyone. I'm actually friends with a few of them on Twitter, like Ian Anthony Dale. I'm friends with Richard Dorton, who played Reptile in the Rebirth thing. Matt Mullins, who played Johnny Cage. And the guy who plays Kano. I think the girl who played Katana. Blue. Yeah, they're all on Twitter. I don't know. I just follow them all, so sometimes I forget, you know. But I'm following like most of them on Twitter. Oh, I'm following what's her name? Sonia. I don't think Michael J. White has Twitter. I think Sonia. What's her name? Can't blank. Shit. Fuck me. I see it every day. Just going blank. The chick from Star Trek. You know what I'm talking about. I can't remember her name. Hate this. Yeah. She's on Twitter, you know, so yeah. You can follow the director, Kevin Techerowan, on Twitter. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for my review on MK Legacy. Yeah. I guess that's it. And I'll see you guys next time soon for the next review.
Behind the columns! Oh yeah! Kitana wins. Fatality. Hacer